Hello, welcome to the Running Channel Podcast with me, Rick Kelsey, Andy Baddeley over there, Cheery Pants, Sarah Hartley over here. Have you two heard of Wim Hof?
Yes, the Iceman. Isn't he the guy he's the reason that people are now obsessed with midlife crisis and going for kind of cold water immersion therapy for well-being?
Is this you saying you've ordered yourself an ice bath?
You're saying I'm having a midlife crisis?
Hey, I'm saying nothing.
I'm more of a hot tub man myself.
Are you? Well,
Yes.
Interesting, because that's exactly what we're going to be talking about today. We're going to weigh up the debate between ice baths versus saunas, hot therapies versus cold therapies. How do they benefit you? How do they use them for recovery? And if you are going to do them, how long and how often should you be doing them for?
Well, I'm still reeling from the midlife comment. I definitely don't feel old enough for
You're
that
not
to be
midlife,
happening.
mate.
You're
Thank
not.
you, mate.
You're not.
Only as old
You're
as your
not.
hairline.
Brilliant.
Killer start.
I'm going to steam on because we're going to be also covering the news stories in running and your questions.
Are you okay, Sarah?
Great.
This
Are
is
you
Cheery
okay?
Pants, straight in there with the hairline
right,
coming.
so-
Everything all right?
No, I'm just very angry at the world.
Why?
I still haven't moved.
Right.
And I'm the world's most impatient person. And I'm just angry about that. But my running's going okay.
Well, that's good.
So
the
that's
priority.
good.
So
yeah.
what's going well about it?
So ironically, you know how I had my whole method of I was just going to keep doing time trials?
There were 1 kilometre, then 2 kilometres, then 3
Then 3
kilometres. Just see if you
kilometres.
can keep holding it for that
Yeah,
distance.
so I did it up to 3 kilometres when I was just kind of messing about in
Yeah.
January. And then I was like, okay, no, I'll actually start a training plan now. And then, lo and behold, my training plan gave me a time trial.
Of how far?
3 kilometres.
Perfect.
Actually 2 miles, so 3.22, I think the
Okay.
conversion is. So I was like, brilliant, this is right up my street. I'll do it outside, so it's not on the treadmill.
Yeah.
Did it round Battersea Park.
How fast?
Well, within 20 seconds, my hairband fell out. That was unideal. But then
Not a problem that I've been suffering from recently.
then I realised, well, in case you do come across this problem,
Yeah.
I was wearing my open ear headphones that have like a band that goes around the back of your
Yeah.
head. Usually that goes underneath my plait, but then when my hairband fell out, I was like, great. Swapped it mid-run so that it like clamped down the back of my hair, and it was actually all right. It was okay.
Top tip.
But I just had it as loaded as a workout in my watch.
Yeah.
So it was lapping every kilometre.
I see.
So I tried to use lap pace, but then I feel like the Strava tax got me at the end. So it ended up as 4 minutes and 1 second per
Right.
kilometre average pace,
That's all right.
which I'm pretty happy
That's
with.
not
Still-
margin for error. Yeah, it's fine.
Well, it's still rapid. You're
That's
still
great.
on
So 12:03.
track.
Yeah.
No, because you did 3.22.
3.2, so
Okay,
yeah, 12 something.
Yeah.
You're on track.
I'm on track.
You're on track, which is
Very
great.
exciting.
You've come back. You're on track.
And the most exciting thing was I feel like in a 5K, I've never had it before where I'm attempting a scary pace. And the first kilometre of it has actually felt pretty comfortable because I didn't start off too fast because I was faffing about with my hair. So
Nice
very
distraction.
exciting.
So if I could get my hair to distract me more effectively.
Yeah.
I feel like that ship sailed. But what we haven't talked about is who's going to be running this 5 kilometres with you. Still haven't committed to this, have you? Or have
Well-
you and just not told me that it's not me?
Well, so yeah, I mean,
Awkward.
we're going to have to break the news to him now. So
not me.
I am doing my 5K attempt on either the 15th or 16th of March.
Yeah.
So it's coming up soon.
So just remind
Currently-
everyone, what is the aim?
Sub 25K.
Yeah.
Okay.
Scary, but
Yeah,
it
it is
feels
scary.
doable at the moment. Obviously, you've offered to pace me, but it is at a weekend. So are you
Hey,
still in?
I'm still in, I think. Although, actually,
Let me check my diary.
yeah, let me check.
But producer Owen is also up for pacing me.
Oh.
However, I think maybe you
Owen's
guys should
rapid.
have a pace off of like without your watch, who can pace 1 kilometre the most even at 4-minute Ks. Who
Yeah.
backs themselves more?
Absolutely me.
Owen's so not looking confident right now.
No, I'm here if you need me. If you don't want me, I'm not going to cry about it. I'll
Great.
cry about it on the podcast. But
Yeah.
beforehand, I'll pretend that I'm completely okay with being abandoned.
Fine.
Thrown to the wolves.
Are you going flat surface for this?
Yeah.
Race conditions?
Perfect.
As in,
Absolutely perfect. Flat.
Will it be
Okay.
in a chip timed race or is this a solo?
It will be in a chip time
chip
race.
time
Hence
race.
why it's at the weekend.
Okay.
Medal. Yeah.
A medal?
Now we're talking.
Yeah, and very excitingly, we're doing a YouTube series following the whole thing. The first video will be out very soon. We're also going to be opening up a kind of special space within the Running Channel Club where you'll be able to get even more updates, and that's where I'll be posting.
Wow.
So if anyone wants to come and do the race as well, we can have a whole little
it
team
is
coming
crazy
out.
fast.
Running Channel Club outing.
Yeah.
Absolutely crazy fast. Speaking of 5Ks,
back to me.
We don't argue over running. We don't argue about much, Chantal and I. But we had a bit of
I was about to say, we argue all the time.
We had a bit of a discussion, a heated discussion over where you put yourself if you're in a race or parkrun style event and there is no block times where you start and a lineup. There's no wave starts.
Oh, where you have to self-identify.
You have to self-identify your starting position.
Yeah.
So I am just sick of her starting at the back and working her way through.
She's too nice.
She's too nice.
Yeah.
So I said on Saturday.
I mean, she's absolutely too nice for you.
That's true. That is true. I was like, come on, get in the middle. Get in, because that's where you're going to end up. Because she just spends the whole race ticking people off.
But then does that motivate her?
No, I just think it's more about how motivated you are to push yourself into the right part of the pack where you're going to finish.
So, and I think there's a difference here between a chip-timed race and a gun-timed race. So parkrun isn't a race, but a lot of people are interested in their own times against themselves.
Exactly.
Right? So in that example, once the person, the race director, event director at parkrun says go, then the time has started. So if you've put yourself right at the back, then the time it takes you to cross that start line is wasted time. And so
it's 20 seconds.
Yeah. So, and also then, and I'd strongly advocate that you'll run better surrounded by people of a similar ability right from the beginning.
Yeah.
Because then you can latch onto somebody, you can run with somebody, you can work together. There is something to be said for passing people the whole way. That's nice. But also, I think
crushing their spirit.
That's it. That was a very specific context as to when spirit should be crushed.
Have you ever done it though, where it's the opposite, where you go like, I think I'm about here, like
everyone just misses you.
Yeah, and you look down after 500 meters and you go, oh, not me,
not me,
not me.
I can tell after 75 meters whether or not it's a good job or a bad job that day. I'm straight out. I know how this is going to work. I was so on Saturday morning though. I mean, I feel full of motivation today.
But you said the other day that you were born motivated.
Yeah, well,
I
saw that clip. Yeah, you pulled that one out, didn't you?
It's good, isn't it?
I was watching the Six Nations last week, and there was this amazing quote which I thought so stood up for the type of people who we try to talk with on the podcast, which was, the Irish team got themselves to such an amazing position because they made them work on the part of their game that didn't require talent. So running back, checking your teammates are all right, getting up quickly after the ball's down, doing the extra bit of work that doesn't require any talent
context,
to do.
Six Nations is a rugby
tournament. And I was just thinking, I was at parkrun on the weekend and I thought, this is exactly kind of what runners do. I was speaking to one of the volunteers and I said, why do you ever run it? And she goes, no, I don't run it because I get so motivated, but I can't run anymore. But I get so motivated by volunteering every week. And I thought that is just it. You don't need talent, but you can have this amazing enthusiasm to get out and go and run.
I've never heard a greater summary of the reason that you're on this podcast.
No talent required.
Yes, and just motivation.
Just show up, keep having a go.
Do you know what, mate? I think Sarah was pretty harsh about your hairline. There's always turkey.
All right, you're going to get me back. You're going to do me dirty like that.
Right, shall we move away from that and talk about underwear? Because I just want to briefly touch on this.
Yes, that's a strange segue, but let's
briefly.
do it.
No? Thank you so much to everyone who messaged me the word underwear after last week's podcast.
Yeah.
I had forgotten. And it was a lovely reminder over the weekend when I got the first Instagram DM that just said underwear,
Your
context.
Strava comments were just a string of underwear. I particularly admire those of you that dropped Sarah a Strava comment that said underwear and the little pants emoji.
That was
very
good.
Double word emoji. I'm a big fan for that.
And you will be thrilled to know that after the probably 100th underwear comment, I have ordered myself a new pair.
So I forgot the context as to why people are messaging you underwear.
It's because I still have the whole pair.
So to remind you to get some new ones.
Sub 20 minute 5K, I will be wearing some sub 20
minute pants.
Some sub 20 minute pants. However, I did have a horrible moment. So I went onto the website, obviously haven't had a pair for 4 years. So they've obviously changed.
Yeah.
So I was looking for the pair that I have, couldn't find the same colours. So my options were either all black or all white.
All black.
And I was like, all white.
All white is a brave choice.
For running underwear, that is.
But then I imagine it depends on colour and tightness of the shorts that are going over the top.
Yeah, well, I mean,
So if you're like a pair of shorts,
if you're like a floaty short person, fully understand why you would want white underwear.
Yeah.
However, I'm looking for longevity, and I feel like a white pair of pants will not give me that.
Yeah.
No, I don't think with the risk of upsetting Rick, I think we should move straight.
Yeah,
right,
I am beginning to feel a little bit uncomfortable. But I would say the amount of people who came up to me in the last week and said, I can't believe Andy Baddeley wore Marks and Spencer's boxers in the Olympic final.
Not boxers, briefs.
Sorry, briefs.
Yeah,
briefs.
Boxers would have shown.
How would you say the difference between boxers?
Briefs like an old school Speedo swimming trunk, like they don't add in a boxer. Like comes down that side of your legs. Have I found them yet? I didn't look.
Right.
I didn't look. Sorry, Sarah.
Right.
But would you wear pants in the in an ice bath?
Yeah. Oh, very, very good. You beat me to it.
Would I?
Yeah. Yes, I would. Would you?
I mean, you've got to wear something. I don't think anyone is ice bathing.
Probably I'd wear a swimming costume, but yeah.
Certainly as a man, and with the impact of an ice bath, you don't want anything on show, do you?
Yeah,
I think you need to be covered up.
You know what? We're not even going to go there, but just imagine the amount of things that could have been said then.
Ice bath versus hot bath.
Yeah.
I mean, there's been a lot more science and studies done into the benefits of cold water immersion over the last 5 to 10 years. And of course, Wim Hof is kind of like the tip of it. But I suppose the last 5 to 10 years is the reason I gave that kind of timeline is that the big studies that have come out into whether or not this can actually help your running and also your metabolism. And one of the big things with it is muscle recovery, isn't it?
Yeah, can I jump in quickly to say that obviously we're going to talk about cold water immersion and we're also going to talk about saunas, both which are fairly extreme versions of temperature exposure. So if you do have any health conditions or anything like that, then you should seek help from a medical professional first before doing anything like this. So we're not taking this as a recommendation. And actually, if anyone listens to this podcast regularly, the degree to which science is incorporated.
Well done. I think that was a great insight.
We give it a go. But yeah, muscle recovery, so it can help repair the micro tears in your muscles, which can speed up recovery after exercise. So if you're not aware, when you do kind of a hard session, whether that's running or it might be at the gym as well, you do get tiny little micro tears in your muscles.
Yeah, I'm not sure about the mechanism for this. I'm not certain how it might repair those micro tears. I know this is one of those things that you read a lot. I think it might be a little bit like the flushing lactic acid out, which has sort of been debunked. So I don't know whether it helps directly repair the muscle tears or whether it is just about the inflammation that occurs when you have done high intensity exercise. I genuinely don't know.
Yeah, it might just be like it helps the actual process because by reducing inflammation, that like DOMS feeling, everything will be super inflamed after you've worked quite hard.
It can also help with arthritis and post-injury recovery. But there's also the circulation element as well because the cold water constricts blood vessels and then dilates them again. I mean, we've all done quite a bit of this, actually, weirdly together.
Yeah, it feels like every time we go abroad, we immerse ourselves in cold water.
Yeah.
That's what I need every week after this podcast, just to calm down
just
a little
dip
bit.
in cold water. But I get enormous benefits from it. I mean, especially with some of the injury recovery that I did. Cold water immersion was actually part of some of the work that I did post-surgery. Actually, after I had surgery, I was given this kind of cold compression machine.
I had the same thing.
And it wrapped around my knee, and 3 times a day for up to an hour, a long time. It would basically pump very cold air to circulate around my knee.
Cold air or cold fluid?
It was cold. I think it was both. It was. I filled it up with water, and it pumped air, and it was strapped around my knee.
Was it the Game Ready?
I think it was called something slightly different.
I used the Game Ready, and that was water through like a cuff that you put around your knee.
And it was remarkable in how much it did bring the swelling down, and actually it took quite a lot of pain away as well.
Yeah, and that's a very specific instance, isn't it? Post-surgery, like you are trying to bring down that inflammation. From all of the stuff that I've read, there's a really interesting distinction between studies that try to measure stuff using essentially a proxy, so like markers in the blood that indicate something. So you've got a study that might measure, I think creatine kinase is the one that is used as a marker to measure how much inflammation there is. Oh, no, sorry, that's not true. How much muscle damage there might be. So the higher your CK markers are, the higher the muscle damage you might have. So then that's sort of an objective measure, isn't it? Like you could look at that. But then there's loads of studies as well that did it by perception. So that perception of like reduced fatigue or did you feel less sore? So there's two different ways of doing it, using markers in the blood to say, does this, first of all, you have to decide whether that blood marker represents that thing accurately. But then you have to measure it before and after exercise and with and without some kind of intervention like an ice bath. And those two different things are different ways of measuring it. But then everything I've read since then is always like, if it works for you, then it works. So Rick's main thing there saying you've found it to massively be beneficial for you.
It was enormous, and it definitely sped up my recovery, and it got me off crutches a lot quicker post-surgery as well.
Yeah, and because you're, in a lot of the studies, they're talking about this perception of stuff. That's obviously can be heavily influenced by a placebo effect. So if you think something's going to make you better, and loads of the stuff that I've read is exactly that. Like if you think something's going to make you better, then keep doing it. Like even if the science is a bit wishy-washy for those sort of things.
So then should we briefly touch as well on hot warm therapy? So Rick, you love your hot tub. Do you feel like that gives you benefits after running, or is it purely kind of mindfulness?
Well, again, it's I find it very good for dealing with helping with sore muscles, but there's also quite a fair bit of evidence now about how if you're taking a shower and you start your shower really warm, that actually bringing the temperature of your shower down slowly before you get out is actually really good for you, because you're going from hot to cold, and that is great for your circulation as well. So it's all about decent. Do you not do that? It's all about.
I've done that.
Yeah.
I do it the other way around. I will like get in the shower, turn it on, whatever temperature it comes out.
And just deal with it.
I'll deal with it. But then it'll need to be like
you can't,
so
no,
hot
you don't
when
get
I get
into
out.
it. You bring it down. But with a sauna, essentially, when a person sits in a sauna, the heart rate increases and the blood vessels widen. And again, this increases your circulation in a similar way to low and moderate exercise, depending on the direction, depending on the duration of use. And there's actually the studies on this. Guess what country one of the biggest studies was done in?
I imagine it's Finland.
It was Finland. Yeah. Have you been to Finland? No?
In fairness, that's an unfair guess because I know what the study is as well. so I knew it was done by on Finnish people. It's a big study as well, over 2,000 people.
Yeah, so 2,300 Finnish men in a 2015 study, they revealed that the risk of death from heart disease was 27% lower among those who reported using a sauna 2 to 3 times per week than those who said they only used it once a week. I mean, fair play the fact that it's either once or 2 or 3 times. But again, this is about circulation, movement, and the idea that heat and cold therapy, hot and cold therapy, work in some ways in the same way that exercise does in improving moving the blood around your body.
Yeah, there's a couple of things. I think that, because the Wim Hof method's slightly different as well. If we go back to, finish off on the sauna thing. Sitting in a relaxing environment, you could practice breathing techniques as well. And so I think there's some good stuff there that you're just in a more relaxed environment. And so part of that could be, it's good for your headspace, it's good for your mental, physical well-being in that sense. I think timing's quite important relative to intense exercise. I don't think I would want to go into a sauna after a really tough workout, for example, whereas previously I would have taken an ice bath to try and recover from that more quickly.
Yeah, I feel like a sauna is more, I want to do that on a recovery day.
Yes, exactly.
But then if you're then using sauna and ice bath together, then...
Yeah, because that's there's lots of protocols that are, again, like with everything here, if you think it works, it works. Then I used to alternate, like I remember I used to train most years in Australia and they were way ahead of any of the facilities that we had in the UK. So in the Australian Institute of Sport, or it might have been the Victorian Institute of Sport in Melbourne, which is on Olympic Park in Melbourne, so right close to where the tennis is and the former athletics track and stuff like that. And you could literally hop between, and they were sunk into the ground as well, so you didn't have to clamber into them. So you could hop between a hot kind of, not a sauna, but a hot bath, hot jacuzzi, not a jacuzzi, hot
tub?
Hot tub, thank you. I just said hot a million times.
Just say tub afterwards.
Yeah, hot tub. And a plunge.
A hot tub.
And
the best thing about the hot tub was it was really hot.
And a plunge pool, so you could stay. Yeah. And they had different temperatures than them as well. And so after really tough workouts on the track, I did try that. But then as my career, towards the end of my career, I remember reading studies which were saying, and some of the advice we were getting from the physiologists at that time was actually use ice baths and that cold therapy during competition or in periods where your training's so intense that you want to feel recovered by the next workout or by the next round of the Olympics. But actually in the midst of your tough sort of winter training or like general training, if you want to get the most positive adaptation from that hard work, don't have an ice bath, because you need a little bit of the inflammation that your body produces post a hard workout in order to adapt and get fitter and stronger. And by having an ice bath, you might blunt that.
This is a bit like, I remember I took a knock and you said to me, whether or not it was worth taking a ibuprofen, because it's worth letting some of the swelling, the body swell up so it can react and heal itself.
Yes, and ibuprofen is, so we are not doctors. Do not listen to this in terms of speak to a medical professional. But from everything that I understand, ibuprofen is an anti-inflammatory drug.
Yeah.
And in the first, I don't know what it is, 24, 48 hours of an acute injury where you've hurt yourself, you might have slightly pulled a muscle or something like that, then taking something like ibuprofen, my understanding would be that limits your recovery, because it stops your body from producing the inflammation it needs to protect that area and to send blood flow and support and fluid and everything to kind of to help that area get better. But then later down the line, when you're trying to recover and you might be having treatment and stuff, that might be something that's useful.
You just touched on the placebo effect of being in between training, but also the wellness aspect of it. Now, my kind of hot tub time is very much...
Oh, God.
That's your headspace clearing time.
It's my headspace clearing time. So I will be in a hot tub with a couple of glasses of Gavit, and it will be incredibly relaxing because I will not have a phone. I will not have any screens around me. I'll not be looking at anything else whatsoever. And it is a time of day or week where I have 45 minutes of not having to think about absolutely anything. And it's great for your headspace.
Do you know the best thing I ever learned about your hot tub time is that, was it last year, you used to do a lot of kind of quite late shifts on the radio. Yeah. And wouldn't your lovely wife, before she went to bed, put the hot tub to the right temperature so that when you got home at like midnight, you could go in it?
Yeah. See, she is far too good for you. She is the most wonderful human being.
I just love
just back it up a
but
couple
also,
of degrees.
you are, I know we joke a lot, you are the best person, the most diligent person at making sure that you have that mindfulness recovery. When we were in Paris last year doing the podcast every single day, there was a few occasions where I think because you're out in a group, it's okay, we have to do everything together. It doesn't matter how burnt out we are. We just have to do. And one night you were just I'm not going to eat with you today. And we just found you just sat in a cafe.
Parisian cafe reading a magazine.
It's so good. But I think it's that once you've learned that thing that helps you.
Yeah, that helps you stick with it.
I'm actually going to be able to report back on something. I can be our science correspondent for the week.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Because I have got a workshop, a Wim Hof method workshop. So he's this... the guy who's made it a bit more mainstream to and this isn't just having an ice bath for a couple of minutes. This is sort of full cold water immersion therapy, but there's also a breathing element to it, so that the proponents of this, they teach you a specific way of breathing and relaxing, and it becomes much more of a overall well-being thing. And
are you doing it?
Yes, I am. Yeah, it's a whole, maybe it's 2/3 of a day.
When are you doing it?
I haven't booked in yet, but I've got I've got a voucher for it.
Just on your own?
Yeah.
Well, that sounds great.
I think you do it in a small group, but with a practitioner that talks you through it.
I can't wait to hear
that sounds
how that goes.
either that will change your life or you'll come back and be I was so cold.
Yeah, I don't enjoy the cold, but I do, from all of the stuff that I've read about that particular method, because it's not just the immersion therapy, it is the breathing and general approach to it. Mm-hmm. That it aims to reduce your cortisol levels, which is the stress hormone in the body.
Yeah.
And would claim also that it can massively increase your metabolism, your metabolic rate. So those are two real positives. But I don't know whether I'm going to be able to measure either of those things, but I'll tell you whether it made me feel good or not.
Great.
Yeah, can't wait.
Looking forward to that.
So in summary, you should keep your sauna visits between 15 and 20 minutes, and an ice bath for at least 1 minute of up to 12 minutes.
But that's dependent on how cold the water is. If it's really
it's
cold.
1 minute per degree. Usually.
Yeah, so if you're getting in an ice bath that's 5 degrees, basically you shouldn't really be in there for more than 5 minutes.
That's my understanding, yeah.
That was great.
Really good. Should we cover some news?
Let's do it.
Okay, so Commonwealth Games 2026. The best thing has happened ever. Andy's distance has been disqualified. Binned off.
Oh, no.
You're so old, they're not doing it anymore.
They've subbed it for the distance that I was better at. I was better at the mile than the 1500 metres.
Yeah, so there is no
positive news.
1500 metres at the Commonwealth Games in Glasgow in 2026. It is being moved to a mile as a one-off in a much slimmed down games. Of course, this was supposed to be in Victoria in Australia, but it's been moved. Glasgow took it on at the last minute. I think there's only about 10 sports and fewer
events. I don't think there's any road racing. No race walking or marathons.
But one of the big things is that there's a tribute to Roger Bannister and John Landy's duel over the distance at the 1954 games that happened in Vancouver, which means there's no 1500 and instead there's a mile. How do you feel?
Do you remember watching
72 years ago, Sarah?
Were you in that Olympics?
I'm sorry, 71 years ago now. 72
yeah, wasn't it a three-way duel between them and you?
Yeah. I want to know, what are your thoughts on this?
I love this. I think that the mile is magical. It gets raced a lot more in the US than it does in the UK.
Yeah.
They have sort of maintained that obsession with it, which is really cool. The 4-minute mile is so meaningful to loads of people, and that fewer people have done a 4-minute mile than have climbed Everest, I think is still the fact.
Wow.
I don't know, the super shoes might have changed that a little bit, but that's really exciting. The only thing I would say is that it's tactically harder to run a mile if you're used to the 1500 metres. That 100 metres, extra 109 metres shouldn't make much difference, but it does. Because you're getting to certain points in the race and trying to work out what about your energy expenditure and how much you've got left. But bigger than that, you start on a curve, on a waterfall start, on a curved line, 9 metres before the start-finish line, because you're going to run 4 laps and 9 metres.
Do they have to paint that on because it's not normally there?
It's always there.
Is it?
Yeah. Every track has a mile start line. Yeah.
In St Albans?
St Albans definitely would have one, yeah.
Okay, fine. Thank you.
And Italy Road
we need to go back.
In Oxford, which is the famous one where Bannister did run his sub 4-minute mile.
I think it's nice as well that like people will be able to watch it and because I feel like more people have heard of a sub 4-minute mile than I couldn't tell you
what's good for 1500 meters. Yeah. It is different for the women, obviously.
Yeah.
And interestingly, I think in 1954, the longest distance that women could run in the Commonwealth Games was the 220 yards.
Really?
So it's amazing how much things have changed. But I think if you're running anything in the 420s for women's mile, and certainly anything under 420 is world class.
Yeah.
And so under 420 would be better than under 4 minutes from a men's perspective. But the waterfall start thing I think is interesting. The 1500 metres, there's a lot of people on a start line, usually 12 in a heat. And then you go from a curved line, but you've got a full 100 metres to sort yourselves out. You don't, like the person who's on the outside of the track doesn't just cut into lane 1. They can run in a diagonal line to the bend. Whereas in the mile, you're starting 9 metres before the bend starts. So you've got 12 people that all want to be in lane 1.
It's a fight.
Yeah, all want to be in lane 1 by the time you get to...
With spikes on.
To 9 metres in.
Probably could get quite violent.
Spikes on.
Yeah, people fall quite a lot on start lines in the mile when they're fighting for those positions.
A lot of blood in the first few metres.
I don't know whether you'd see people getting reinstated or the starts being recalled if it happens right at the beginning. I've no idea. They don't usually recall the start though.
Ooh, do we reckon there'll be a repechage? Oh,
interesting. I know they seem to be trying to cut down on events at the Commonwealth Games. So
true.
I don't think they will.
Repechage, for anyone who didn't watch or listen to our Olympic coverage, is the extra round that they added in so that if you didn't make it through the first few rounds, you got an extra round in order to make it into the final round.
I called it have another go.
Have another go round. Exactly
right. I miss saying the repechage. Anyway, questions.
So our first question is from Mike. Again, this is 2 weeks on the row.
Oh,
we
Rick's
don't
angry.
know where Mike is from. Please put in where you're from.
He might have done. This could be us copying and pasting the email across wrongly, but so apologies.
Where would we like Mike to be from? Like, where's the most exciting place?
I think Mike's from Kettering.
I think Hawaii. Rick would like him to be from Hawaii, I think.
Yeah. If you are from Hawaii, get me into the Honolulu half. Is that a thing?
You nearly said marathon, didn't you?
Yeah, I almost did, yeah.
Doesn't that start at 4:30 in the morning or something?
It does?
Yeah.
Oh, you know what? Your memory is holding up all right.
It's holding up all right. You know where I'd like someone to email in from? San Francisco, because I'm going there soon. So if you could give me some running recommendations.
For pleasure?
You're
having a holiday?
You're not invited. Yeah, May. Woohoo!
God.
Holiday.
I don't associate you with holidays, Sarah.
No, me neither.
No. Well, that's great.
Because unlike you, she works.
Hilarious. Who was in the Sunday Times yesterday?
Oh, Rick. We got it.
Right.
Hang on, everybody. I've caught a big one.
I'm gonna get on with this. Right, here we go. Hello, Andy, Sarah, and Captain Rick Sparrow.
That's got to be a reference to the video that's gone viral of you trying to run at
the National Running Show.
Oh my God,
the world
it was
record
so
marathon pace.
good.
Yeah, that was hard.
I don't know what you were doing with your arms.
No, but it felt a bit out of control. So Mike's given us a statement that I'm going to read out. Okay. Mike says, you are aiming to run a sub 4 hour marathon and achieve a PB. Right. You crossed the finish line with a chip time of 4:01, but Strava has measured the course as 26.4 because you didn't follow the painted line. Strava records you as having achieved a new PB of 3:59 for the marathon distance. Are you considering yourself a sub 4 marathon runner?
Right. Okay.
What's a great scenario from Mike?
Oh, Mike. I think
that's really hard, by the way.
You guys are prevaricating. Sorry, Mike. No.
Right. Oh, hang on. Look, we've just crushed
Andy.
Mike's dreams. Let's at least let him down gently. Okay, Mike. Here's the thing. Can you run a sub 4 hour marathon? Yes, you can, without a doubt. You'll be able to go and do it again. Can you call yourself a sub 4 marathoner? Not quite yet. No. I'm so sorry. You're going to have to sign up for another race.
There. But we've been asked this question before.
We have.
We are consistent in our answer here, which is you have to run, if you run 1,500 metres on the track and you end up being pushed out into lane 3 because there's people in your way and you end up running 1,510 metres, your finish time at the end is still whatever the official time is.
Yeah.
So that is,
it's
horrible truth.
It's one of those horrible running situations.
You got to go with your chip time.
You got to go with your chip time.
Okay. Shanna Lawrence has put this question in from the club. As someone who loves a medal and will choose a race on how cool that medal is, what races have the most unique ones? Personally, the Lundy Island Half Marathon is my current favourite.
Can I give some options?
Yes, go on.
There's some races in the UK. I'm sure there must be loads, but night races usually have really cool medals. Like the Maverick race series do some night races, and the medal that you get is like glow in the dark. And it's a trail race at night. It's lovely. You need a head torch though, but that's a good one.
Andy?
I feel like I'm the wrong person to turn to here. As you know, I've got medals from my various pro races just in a shoebox under my bed.
Yeah.
And none of them are very exciting. And I've got a single medal from Valencia Marathon, which was very cool, but I didn't choose the race because of the medal. Okay. So I don't know. I know
would
that a lot
you choose a race because of a medal?
I don't think I would. No, I would choose that it was fast and flat. And that would be my sole criteria.
All right, Mr. Boring.
I know. Well, I am Mr. Boring. I think that's my role on the podcast, isn't it?
Rick?
I got a really nice medal from the Oxford Half that I ran with Sarah in 2024, which was like a bar.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, like
it's quite cool.
Solid bar. But there are some very cool medals, but they will change from year to year. Like Berlin Marathon always puts the face of an athlete on the back of their medal. So that's quite cool every year.
Yeah, and I'm a good friend of mine, Tom Bedford, and shout out to all of the kind of smaller race directors out there. So we obviously mentioned a couple of huge marathons there in Valencia and Berlin. I know the amount of thought and effort that he always put into the medal design, and I think that would have been the Richmond Run Festival. Little plug.
Oh yeah,
just about to mention that.
Yeah, and they, I think sequential medals on different years kind of fitted together, so you could kind of collect them.
Oh, that's cool.
I could be wrong there.
The other thing that's really cool is races that don't have medals. So we've done, I think, was it Endure 24? Maybe you get a coaster. Maybe that's a lot.
And some of them you get medals that you can plant. They're like biodegradable medals that have
fun.
seeds embedded in them.
Come
and you can plant them.
give me something I can hang up.
When we sign Rick up
Seriously,
for his first
something I can
100
plant. Oh, for God's sake.
You love the garden though.
I adore gardening, but I like going to a garden centre and buying some bulbs and shoving them in the ground. I don't want to plant my bloody medal.
Do you always buy your plants that you plant in your garden?
Do you know what? Andy's. I don't know where to go with this.
Andy's woken up and chosen violence.
Andy's suggesting about an incident a few years ago when I dug up some plants that maybe I didn't own and moved them to another spot.
Which you did own.
Which I did or didn't own. And I think that's all I'm going to say about that.
Fair enough.
But, we all live and learn.
And now he's on a list.
Yeah. We all live and learn.
But races, one other thing to mention, buckles. And that's for the like really long, like 100-mile races. Oh, I've lost these two. But anyway, email in podcast@therunningchannel.com. Are there any races that we should come and do because of the medal or the trophy or the thing that you get at the end of the race?
Yeah.
Specifically marathons, because we still need to sign Rick up to one, which maybe we'll do next week.
Yeah.
Let's find out.
Apparently you two are bullying me about this marathon. I'm getting a lot of support.
Classic
Thank you for the
us.
support. Thank you for the support.
Yeah, I think you give as good as you get, Rick. You have. I can promise anybody listening to this podcast or watching this podcast, there's not been a single moment in Rick's involvement in the running channel where he's done something he hasn't wanted to do. He will point blank refuse to carry a GoPro or to do anything that he does not want to do. So if he doesn't want to run a marathon, he absolutely does not have to run a marathon.
No.
But if he does, then we'll be with him every step of the way.
That's very, very kind. I don't mind doing it in 2 halves. 1 half, 1 month. The other half the next.
Sold.
Yeah.
What about if you did one on the 31st?
Yes, starting at 10 p.m.
And then one on the first.
That's actually quite a good idea. but I'm
Great.
not doing it.
Sold.
Yeah.
See you next week.
Bye.
Bye.